Welcome to Money Hacks, where we offer tips for the newcomer to the financial investment scene.
Now that thick and beautiful sound you heard just now was a Gibson Les Paul, an iconic electric guitar played by local musician Rai. Gibson made headlines around the world recently when it filed for bankruptcy protection as it struggled with $500 million of debt. Now its guitars, Les Paul guitars, have been played by famous musicians like Slash, Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page and Peter Green. Gibson's also known for its acoustic guitars that have been played by Elvis Presley, John Lennon, and Bob Dylan. I'm Chris Lin, and my co-host is Ernest Lewis. Today we are with Jack and Rai, one of the most popular duos, the live gig circuit in Singapore. Hi guys, thanks for coming and joining us.
Thank you for having us, Chris.
We're going to ask you all about whether or not we should be buying Gibsons right now. In fact, whether or not we should be breaking our little piggy banks to buy Gibsons right now. Now imagine, I'm a young married guy in his early 30s. I've got 2 kids. I've got a wife. And we're about to send our kids to expensive Montessori preschool. About, $4,000, $5,000 a month. Ooh. But maybe, instead of sending them to this preschool, I should invest in a Gibson Les Paul instead. If my wife doesn't kill me first.
Very good point.
Yes.
So, Jack, Rai, do you think I should make this bold investment move?
Of course you should. I mean, guitars don't talk back. They don't grow up. They just stay the same. You don't have to pay anything for them once you paid for them. Nah. But as a lifelong investment. I think guitars can be a really good investment. It's just provided what kind of background of a guitar you're getting and whether you know what you're getting in the first place. Whether it will appreciate in value. What do you think, Jack?
I think that considering that you have 2 young kids and obviously you have important monetary considerations to decide on and stuff. I think maybe you might have to be a good boy and hold that budget for a rainy day. I mean, not to say just because I became a father like a week ago, but I think that some prudent spending the strategies might have to be put in place.
You're supposed to be enabling, not dissuading. What's wrong with you?
Just to let everybody know, Jack's garage sale for his guitars is starting from next week onwards.
That's right. It's called Raise Money for Milk Powder, Fun Fair, and Bazaar.
But that leads us to the question of on whether or not, regardless of whether or not you should spend the money, whether or not buying a Gibson right now because of the bankruptcy is a good investment in itself. After all, Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which is what Gibson's in, is actually more of a restructuring. It's more of an admin thing. Some people say that the guitar division will come out just fine. Sure, last year word was that electric guitar sales dropped by 1/3. But Gibson sales seem to have actually jumped by 10% last year for guitars. They're not doing so well on other things. So actually, does it make that much sense to buy a Gibson? Is it really, must you buy now?
The thing is, because the company is going bankrupt, I think, for me, I believe that is still not a strong enough factor for a guitar to actually appreciate in value. It's because it's being discontinued. I mean, think about it. Gibson's been making guitars for many, many, many years. What's to say if you buy a 2018 Gibson, is it gonna be as valuable as a 1960 or 1959 Gibson? Those kind of factors. And let's look at it this way. I mean, even when you look at present guitar players, I mean, how many of them are there really left? Like real rock guitarists.
Rai asked me a question about a couple of weeks back, or maybe a few months back, and he asked me, Hosi, and he calls me Jack,
yes.
Right? Hosi, and says, Name me some favorite guitar heroes of today.
Yeah.
And we have a problem.
Yeah, because we keep talking about Jimmy Page and Keith Richards and those guys that we grew up with. And now the only one I can think of is Nuno Bettencourt, and he's from Extreme, which is like 90s.
Yeah.
So even the guitars that they play, will it become a legendary guitar? You don't know. Even if you're talking about present models here. So if you ask me to buy a present day Gibson and keep it as a collector's or a valuable item, I actually quite speculative about that. I mean, I'm
Absolutely, and I stand with Ray on this part as well. Especially if you're considering a current edition model like 2018 or 2017, it will not appreciate by leaps and bounds. But if you want me to just be really truthful about it, it won't drop that much in price either.
Yeah,
but
you'll probably break even maybe if you're lucky.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What about your friends? I mean, do you have like collector friends, contacts that you meet in the music scene? What do they tell you about the scene and what they think holds the future for Gibson?
Gibson will always still be a legendary guitar. Foo Fighters, Dave Grohl and all, they use Gibsons as well. And it's always known as a rock guitar. So, again, going back to the whole thing, I think if you ask me whether it'll appreciate in value, I don't think so. Will it depreciate? No, I don't think so either. It'll just kind of hover around the same price. And there are a lot of independent boutique makers who make similar makes as a Les Paul or even a Strat and stuff like that. And they do a pretty good job nowadays as well.
Exactly.
Okay, guys. I'm playing a different character from Chris.
Okay.
Let's just say I'm an on-block uncle.
Yes.
In my 60s, my condo just scored the deal.
There are a lot of Singaporeans in your position right now.
Yes, we just, so I've got about like 1.5 million. And I'm thinking, I was looking at this online marketplace, reverb.com. And there are a couple of listings there of this rail. This is what I understand. I don't really play a lot of guitar. I'm not very good. But I understand that the holy grail of guitars is the 1959 actual burst Les Paul.
Yep.
And I've seen a few of these listings of authentic stuff from 1959, and they go for at least $250,000 US dollars and above.
Yep.
I want to ask you this. I'm an on-block uncle. I want to do an investment in this, and I'm thinking such real deals, are they going to appreciate in value, right? I mean, they're not going to depreciate anytime soon. What should I do? If I have the money, should I go and get it?
Well, I'll jump in and say you've been blessed with an on-block sale and stuff. Obviously, you've been blessed with extra income, and absolutely go for it, man. If it rocks your boat and if the income and if financially speaking you can balance it. If I were to add a little bit more, I was going to say that it would be great if you were a big fan of obviously the Les Paul, Weather Rock, maybe a Jimmy Page fan. I find that would be a more connected sort of investment where it's you talk the talk and you like what that era gives you.
Yes.
And I think it's important that you can't just look at it purely from an investment point of view, because I feel that if you did, then you might feel a little bit silly having to spend like $250,000 on a guitar.
Yeah, I mean, my friends tell me, "Are you sure you want to carry such a heavy guitar and all that?"
Yeah, it's not like an old Gibson.
Yeah,
it's not like.
I wouldn't buy it.
Yeah,
because unless I'm like a humongous fan of the guitarist that played the 59 Les Pauls. And I know, I want to play and sound exactly like them, And that's why a lot of people buy some guitars. Some guys are crazy about John Mayer. So they buy the Fender Racing Stripe. And it is like any other regular Strat. But, you like it because John Mayer played it.
Exactly.
And the same thing, you want a 59 Les Paul because you kind of like the sounds of what Jimmy Page.
Or the early Eric Clapton, whatever he did on the Les Paul.
And when you're a really huge fan, you want to own a piece of the artist.
With that connection in mind.
Yeah, and that is why the 59 Les Pauls are so expensive, because they aren't super special or anything like that in terms of make. But
just very quickly, is there a difference between that kind of 1959 Les Paul and a reissued Jimmy Page, current day reissued Jimmy Page model?
Absolutely.
I mean, obviously the price is about 11,000, 12,000.
Yeah.
For a reissue. Is there a difference in the tone, the sound?
I would say that we've played a few vintage guitars, electric guitars, and you are absolutely right. The tone and the sound, the number of extra years it's been on this lovely earth of ours to wear and tear and absorb all the environmental goodness or whatever. So, and it just, the tone is just
I mean, it is subjective though. It's like, some people, the tone is definitely different. But whether you think it's nicer is another story. It could be nicer, it could not. It just depends on you as a person. It's very subjective. Of course, older makes will have different materials used. The wood might be different, or over the years the wood is conditioned differently in weather. Metals used might be different, so your pickup sound different. So there's basically, there will be a difference in tone in that sense.
Absolutely. And back in the day, the way the guitar was constructed, there are so many. I mean, if you go and have conversations or coffee with those people who really know about all these things, they can go forever. But how it's made today obviously has a lot of consideration with manufacturing processes, keeping costs, and efficient, blah blah blah, and stuff like that. So the way it was made in the old days, don't play.
All right.
It sounds like you made some two good points here. It sounds like you need to have an emotional connection, but you need to do your research as well, because not every model is just as collectible as every other one, which kind of gels with what we've heard from our guests in other podcasts we've done in this series. You just can't go in blind and throw money at it. Absolutely. You have to do your research, and it helps to have a personal connection with it. Otherwise, you're just buying something you won't use it, you don't really care about.
You're right. You're right.
Well, thanks Jack and Rai for being with us. You can check out more of their gigs at jackandrai.com. And, since we heard Rai on his Les Paul just now, it only makes sense to round things off with Jack on his Sheryl Crow Gibson signature acoustic guitar. Take it away.
Cool.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Money Hacks, where we help you make sense of trends and your finances. Now, to you, our listener, we'd like to invite you to pose your own questions or scenarios to moneyhacks@podcast@sph.com.sg. Do note that any financial or investment information in this podcast is for use in Singapore only and is intended to be for your general information. Any particular investment or decision should only be made after consulting with a fully qualified financial advisor.